Are you ready to take your leadership journey to the next level? On the leadership platform TLP, we don't just talk about leadership, we live it. This year, we are bringing you cutting-edge insights, transformative tools, and real-world strategies to help you lead with confidence, purpose, and impact. This year, we have 4 seasons with 50 episodes. We will dive into themes such as leading self, leading others, and leading institutions. We bring you Leaders Are Readers. This monthly session focuses on book reviews, discussions, encouraging all participants to read along with selected books on personal leadership and professional leadership. We also have a time with the CEO. In this segment, we dive into the stories of prominent CEOs who share their insights, lessons learned throughout their leadership journey. We also bring you extraordinary leadership stories, highlighting individuals in our societies who are doing extraordinary things. This segment inspires viewers with real-life examples of leadership in action. We will bring you some brilliant minds, courageous leaders changing the narrative of Africa. We also bring you finally the expert-led sessions, which cover a wide range of leadership and personal development topics, providing practical guidance and actionable strategies for personal and professional development. The leadership platform is your go-to space for personal growth, professional breakthroughs, and meaningful connections. I am Joy Bonsu-Schmutz, co-host on TLP, and I will see you every Saturday, 7 p.m. GMT, live on YouTube and Facebook. Okay, hello, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you're joining from. Welcome to another edition of the Leadership Platform powered by CTL Africa Leadership. And today happens to be our episode on Leaders Are Readers. My name is Joy Bonsu-Schmutz, and I am excited to be here today. It's been a while hosting the show. I want to thank Mr. Ayim, Sarah Jesse, and the entire CTL crew for always working so hard behind the scenes to bring this amazing learning opportunity to you all. And welcome everyone who is intentional about your growth across the globe. Kindly share so that as many people in your community can join us. We want this to be another engaging time. So let us know where you're connecting from. I'm connecting from Accra, Ghana. It's very warm, windy where I am. So let's know where you are connecting from. Johannesburg, Dar es Salaam, Accra, Switzerland, Geneva. Where are you connecting from? Let us know in the chat and we will duly acknowledge your presence. I see Winifred Osei connecting with us. Winifred, it's good to have you here. Good evening. All right, so keep in the introductions coming through and we're going to get right into it. This season, being our first season of the year, we focus on leading self. And this is going to be our very last episode on leading self. And I hope you have learned something over the course of the episodes that have come from January to now, and tell us, how has your experience been about leading self? And today we're going to be, putting the icing on the cake with a very important principle we've been reading about. And our very own Mr. Samuel Ayim is going to do us the honors in leading us through this book review, so that if you haven't read it, like I haven't yet, I'm looking forward to it. I've read the summary. I know what the principle is about, but I'm really itching to dive into this principle. And this principle is a superpower, the Pareto principle on the 80-20 principle written by Richard Koch. And he's going to take us step by step through this process. I see Portia Amono joining us. It's good to see you. Good to have me back. Good. All right. So we're going to dive right into it as we go through the book review. And just very briefly about the book. So most of you know that we've been talking about this book by Richard Koch, and the 80-20 principle. In an interview that he had on one podcast, he said that initially it was just a principle he was talking about. Then his publisher said, "Can you put this into a book?" And he said, "I only have one paragraph of this principle. Only for us years down the line now, we have the 80-20 principle. We have other books, the 80-20 manager, the 80-20 individual, living the 80-20 way." So you can see that this principle has transcended into various books that he has written. So I'm looking forward to this conversation. Please keep the comments coming, and we'd like you to share the stream. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. This is live on Facebook. It's live on YouTube and live on LinkedIn as well. So please keep sharing so that many more can be blessed by this session. All right, so let me invite Mr. Ayim on stage. He's going to take us through the book review. And I must say that, coming into contact with Mr. Ayim, if you don't improve your reading habits, then you haven't met Mr. Ayim. So I also want to thank you for inspiring me. I have really improved on my reading since I joined CTL and I got to know you. So thank you very, very much for that. Definitely leaders are readers. So Mr. Ayim, I'll hand over to you so that you can introduce this book to us and then take us away.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you so very much, Joy. Somehow, I don't know if it's my internet or yours, it keeps breaking off from time to time. So please monitor if I'm breaking off. Let me know so that I can repeat what I'm saying just in case people are losing me. So I want to welcome everybody who is here, Winifred, Portia, and Isaac from Dar es Salaam. You are all very welcome. And thank you so much, Joy, for that amazing work. Let me bring up my slide. 1 second. Joy, you may have some. Somehow I'm not able to bring up the slide. Okay. So there, the slides are here now. Okay, though. So we're going to talk about this book. It's just this book that we're going to talk about. And so I want to encourage those of you who are online, if you haven't read it, the objective of these sessions is very simple. It's to introduce you to the core concepts in the book and also to encourage you to be able to read the book and read it in detail. Our objective is that every month we would read one book. So we encourage you to read with us. This will be our third book for this month. And as Joyce said, we have 4 seasons. So this is going to be the last segment of the first season, which is leading self. We focus on topics that will help you to become a better person, to become a better leader, to lead yourself. Because as John Maxwell would always say, if you cannot lead yourself, why should other people follow you? A lot of the time we want to lead others, but we don't know how to lead ourselves. And so this quarter we focus on that, and we've given you a number of themes and topics and brought you a number of speakers. If you have missed any of these, please go back, because this particular segment is to help you focus on yourself. this evening, we're going to focus on how you get the best out of life. And Richard Koch subtitles this book, The Secret to Achieving More with Less. Now, that looks like an oxymoron. How do you achieve more with less? We've been taught over and over again to work hard, work hours. We're spending so many hours. I mean, just this week, I've been talking to some colleagues who see my internet buffering. So if you're missing me, just put a note so I know that you're missing me. So I see countless corporate people who are spending hours and hours and hours in the office. And it's become a chore. People are not enjoying what they are doing. And so we decided that we will look at this book and the principle of 80-20, share the core principles with you so that you'll be able to apply it to your life. Sometimes my team will come to me and they want me to do some tech things. And then I will say, guys, please, this one, you have to do it. Because I know myself, I've examined myself, I know the work that I do here. So I tell the team, my job is very simple. I am here to speak and teach. All other than me, and Joy is doing a great work, sharing and speaking and teaching, and that's great. We are building this faculty so that we can have more speakers and coaches. So that's great. But my focus on this platform, my purpose in life is to be able to teach and to help you and help others to become their better self. So that's what my focus is. Any other thing, yes, I may try to do them, but it's not. Now, this principle that we are going to talk about is dealing with how do you get the best, how do you the little personal life. Even before I got to know this principle, I grew up, and as most of you know, in a very humble family background. We grew up in a village where you have to just have the barest minimum. And when I was in secondary school, I couldn't have the money to buy any books. When I was in the university, I couldn't buy any books. What did I do? I would go to my friends who had the money to buy the books. Some of them come to school with a pile of all the books, the ones that are recommended and the ones that are not recommended. They come with all the books. And when I go to my friends to borrow their books, and that's what I used to do, I know that I have a few hours to be able to cover as much as possible. So I'll block a few hours, usually will be in the night or dawn, and I'll go through as quickly as I can, maximize those hours. So the 24, because I may not have 24 hours, but just the 2 hours that I borrow and focus on that book gave me a lot of insight, because there was pressure on me actually to be able to return the book. So I choose the time of the day or of the night or of the dawn where I can get the 2, 3, 4 hours and crack as much as possible. And at the end of the day, I was getting much more than those who were spending hours and hours on their books. And so when I was reading this book, this principle just hit me that, oh, yes, sometimes you don't have to spend 24 hours on something. You don't have to stay in the office for 24 hours to be able to make it. So that is the essence of this book. So let's get into it. Well, okay. So that's the book, 80-20 rule principle. I'm just having a bit of a challenge moving the slides somehow. So just bear with me just in case I'm not able to move the slide. So this is what we're going to go through. We're going to have a quick introduction to the author. We'll have an overview of the book. Then we'll explain the principle. Then we'll look at situations, how to apply the principle in our daily lives. So that's what we have for us. We're going to spend as little time as possible, because that's what the book teaches us, not to spend all the time. So we're going to spend as little time as possible. So this book was written by Richard Koch, and you can find him, Google him, and read a lot about him. He's a British author. He's written many books, and he's a highly successful entrepreneur and an investor who has influenced a lot of thinking, an Oxford trained investor and entrepreneur. Now, the other books he has written, as I said, several other books, some of them that are so interesting to me, and I'm yet to read these ones. Very interesting titles: Unreasonable Success and How to Achieve It. When I saw the title, I'm just scrambling. I'm going to get that book and read it. He has written a number of 80-20 books, and this one is the 80-20 individual, focusing on you and how to apply the individual. Then he has this book on smart leadership. These are great titles. And when you go, he has another book on simplify. He has another book on strategy. He has several other books that you want to find and read them. That will help you. But today, we are just reviewing the book, The 80-20 Principle, The Secret to Achieving More with Less. So welcome to the book. Now, the book has 270 pages, and it's a bit dense, but when you begin to read, you'll find that it's not too difficult to read, but it's divided into 4 broad parts, which enables you to just follow it easily. So there are 4 parts to the book, which the first 2 chapters is just the introduction to the principle, the origin of the principle, and different theories about the world and how the world works, and so on and so forth. And so after defining the principle and all how it works and the origin and so on and so forth and the other theories, part 2 then applies the principle to the corporate world, to business, and so on. So there are different aspects on strategy and business strategy and so on that this principle is applied to, with concrete business examples that will enable you to understand how the principle works in the corporate life. Then he applies the principle to the individual also, and how you can get the best out of it. So work less, earn and enjoy more. And this is about you as an individual being free, having time. A lot of the time in my coaching sessions, the thing that a lot of managers and executives come to me with is, how do I manage time? It seems like 24 hours is not enough. Well, Richard Koch will tell you in this part that you don't have to manage time. You actually need a time revolution. You have to look at time differently and how to work with it. And the final, which is 4, reviewing the principle and how it works. All right. So get the book and read. But today, we're going to spend just a few more minutes to understand the principle. And if you have any questions, please let me know. What is the Pareto principle, or the 80-20 rule? the 80-20 principle or the Pareto principle simply teaches that roughly 80% of all outcomes stem from 20% of the causes. So every outcome, every result that you get, there is a cause. Okay, so for every outcome, there is a cause. There is the generating force. Now, how do you get the outcomes? You get the outcomes by activating the causes. So it's like cause and effect. So for every effect, there is a cause. Now, how do the effects, the outcomes come? He says that if you have 100 outcomes and you sit down and you analyze them over a period of time, you find that 20% of all the causes is responsible for 80% of the outcomes. Now, what does this mean for us? What it means is that for everything that you're doing, if you're a salesperson, you're selling to several customers, check. If you do the analysis, you will find that if you had 100 customers, 80% of your sales come from just 20% of those customers. If you're a church and you have a congregation of 1,000 people, and you are looking at your giving, your collection in the church, if you do the analysis, you will find that 20% of the members, when you put their giving together, will give you 80%. So all the giving that you're getting, if you analyze it, you will see that 80% of the giving is coming from just 20% of the people. This principle is that if you analyze it carefully, you'll find that of all the people you have in your office, if you look at their performance, 80% of the results, the productivity of your work is coming from just about 20% of the people. What does this mean? What it means is that the principle is encouraging us to prioritize the 20% of the activities, the tasks, and resources that yield the most significant results, rather than spending effort on the thing, on everything. So if you're a manager and you have 100 people you are supervising, and you do the analysis and you find that 20% of these people give you 80% of the results, then it means you have to focus more attention on this 20%. It doesn't mean ignore the others, because what that also means is that the other 20% are on the other 80% of the people are only contributing 20% of the outcome. In fact, somebody has said that even if you go to 80% of the food, how many of them are you able to go to financially and say, help me, and they will come to you? You will find that very often it's just a few of your friends that come through. Many of them may not be able to support you financially. If you're a parent, you may find that when you're old, only a few of your children will be coming to your aid. Not all of them, maybe not in the same proportion, but you will find that about 20% of these children are giving you 80% of the support you need. So if you understand that your 80% outcome is coming from 20%, then this principle is saying that pay attention to the 20%. And that is why in leadership, we say that you don't lead everybody equally. You have to look at individuals and what their contribution is and what their characteristics are, and you lead them accordingly. So this is, if you look at it pictorially, if you can see, if you can see my one I simple graph to show you this showing. So if your results is 100%, you find that 20% of the effort you are putting in gives you 80% of the results. In other words, when you go and sit in your office and you spend 8 hours, 10 hours, 20 hours, if you take your time to analyze, you'll find that only 20% of the effort that you are putting in gives you 80% of the outcome. So why do you spend 8 hours, 10 hours, 20 hours? What do you do in those hours sitting in the office when those hours are not giving you the returns you need? 20% of your effort gives you 80% of the results. Therefore, one implication is that if the 80% is not giving you enough, then you want to find out how do you use the 80% of the effort. Maybe it will be better to go and sleep and just focus on the 20% and get your 80% of the result. But of course, you're going to lose 20%. So you find a way to encourage the 80% to be able to give that result. This is the simple illustration of the principle that we are talking about. That is the Pareto principle. Now, what this also implies is that when you are a leader, this is highlighting focus on the most impactful result. So much all the stress that you're doing, actually just a bit of that effort is giving you the results you need. Look for that and focus on that. By identifying and concentrating on the vital few, individuals and organizations can achieve greater efficiency and effectiveness. So that is the Pareto principle. If you have any question, just put them in the chat. Now, let me just make this comment at this point. The essence of this, sometimes the few that is producing the 80% or the percentage of 80-20 may not be exact in the situation that you have. In some cases, it could be that 90% of the results is coming from only 10%. Or it could be that 90% is coming from 5%. Or it could be that 80% is coming from 30%. But anyhow you look at it, the principle is saying that life is not linear. People are not contributing equally to the outcomes. Factors are not contributing equally to the outcome. Some factors are contributing more effectively. Even if you look at diseases, the causes of diseases, only a few causes can create huge effect. Only a few sicknesses kill more people. When you listen to the doctors, they will tell you how many people this year, the biggest killers of the biggest killers, the diseases that kill most Ghanaians. Focus on the few. So in each case, you may not have exactly 20-80, but the principle holds by and large. That is why the two elements of this principle that I want to just draw your attention to are not 20 thinking. So there are two things. The analysis, the ATT analysis, and gather. So if it is about your staff productivity, look at how much each of your people are bringing in. So if you have a team of salespeople, gather the data, analyze all the data, how many is this guy selling? How many is that guy selling? How many is this one bringing in? How much is this one bringing in? When you do that analysis, you would find that 20% of the people are bringing 80%. If you're a business and you are looking at your profits, look at your products, all your products, just do the analysis. List all the products. Some institution banks have hundreds of products, and then they call something cross-selling. If you take the hundreds of products, you will find that 20% or 20 of those products are producing 80% of the revenues. So if you are a business manager, or if you're a manager or a CEO, when you look at the numbers, you do the analysis, what happens is that you will now be able to pay attention. That is why when you go and fly on an airline, you wonder, why is it that you are all in the same aircraft, but there's a first class, business class, and the economy? And when you go into the first class, there's just a few of them, maybe 10 people in the first class. And in the business class, depending on the size of the aircraft, maybe 20 of them. Then you go to the economy class, and there are 200 of them. Now, the 10 people in the first class, if you look at the numbers, what they are paying will cover, the company will spend, the aircraft will spend a lot and give them the lunch and serve them food and everything. Give them beds that they can sleep on. They will serve them a lot of food than they give you at the economy, because those few people constitute the 20% who are producing 80%. So the 80-20 analysis is that you sit down and you analyze the data. Two sets of data, the outcome data and the input data. Analyze those data and check, and you find that 20% is producing 80% of the result. All right. So that is the analysis. I mean, there's a lot of details on that in the book that you want to check and imbibe. But those who apply the principle understand that as leaders, as managers, you don't always sit down and do all those detailed analysis. There are many decisions that you don't need to sit down and have all those detailed analysis. 1 second, my bad. Sit down all the time and analyze the data in detail. Sometimes you can just know it. So they have what they call the 80-20 thinking. And simply what that thinking is that as a manager, you have to understand and think as Pareto. Put it in your mind and let your decisions and your actions be influenced by the principle without necessarily going to do all those detailed analysis. So as a manager, you can just feel, you can see that some of your people are just coasting around. They are not producing as much. You don't have to be told, you don't have to be a wizard to know. But your mentality is that you know that there are certain things that produce more results. So the 80-20 thinking is used to change behavior and normally to concentrate on the most important 20%. And that's the thought that should animate the manager. You have a mindset that says 20% of my input are going to give me 80. So look, as you go about, think, check, look for those 20% without necessarily doing a detailed analysis. So effectively, whether you do analysis or you're just applying the thinking, effectively, the whole objective is to help to change behavior. All right. So now, having understood the principle, let us quickly look at how to apply the principle. And I just outline a few points here to help us with the application of the principle. Now, here, the first application of the principle, especially for us, for individuals, I have 4 of them here. The first application is time management. And when you go into the book, you tell you, don't think about time management, think about time revolution. There's a detailed explanation of that. But when you want to apply the principle to the use of your time, the rule can be used to identify the most critical task and allocate time accordingly so that you can maximize productivity. So how much time do you have to spend on this particular item? If that activity, that action does not give you 80% of the result, why waste so much time? So what do? If you want to manage your time and allocate time properly, look at all your activities and all the actions and ask yourself, how much of that should give you 80% of the results? So for example, we're in a training organization. Our whole objective is to teach and train. So the most important activity is the material that we take to the people. Yes, before we go to the material, we have to write letters, we have to make calls, we have to go and look at locations, we have to negotiate with the partners, we have to do all that. But if we negotiate and do all that, and the time comes and we don't have the material, next time the company will not come back. So we spend quite some time. You can spend all your 80% of your time, making all the calls and taking care of the logistics and all that. And then at the end of the day, you don't have presentations. So as the leader of this place, I take charge of that. So after all the calls and these things, and I say, what do they want us to talk about? They want us to talk about leadership or self-leadership, leading others, relationship, or whatever. And I spend all my time, most of the time, on that. So time allocation, if you do this critical analysis, you'll be able to allocate the time to the most important, most crucial activity, and you get more results. And that is what the high flyers in organizations do. That is how the first class students do. They spend more time on the subjects that they have identified will come into the exams, because it's not all the subjects that the lecturer teaches that comes into the exams. Allocate the time. Number 2, application is goal setting. This principle will help you because there's so many things you want to achieve. You have 1,001 goals, but which of the goals is going to impact you the most? So the 80-20 principle says focus on the limited number of high impact goals rather than pursuing many less important goals. So next time you're setting goals, yes, list all your goals and ask yourself, which of these goals is going to give me the highest impact? And focus on the 20% of the goals that will give you the biggest impact. There may be other goals that you want to, tinker with, but allocate less time to those ones. The third application is when you are solving problems. Now, this is very, very important because every problem has a cause. And we know from the principle that 20% of the causes give us a lot of the problem. So by understanding this principle, what you're going to do is that you are going to focus on the 20% of the root causes of the issue that is giving you 80% of the problems. So a lot of your problems, in fact, sometimes in your organization, there are only one person in that organization that gives you all the headache. So you have to focus on that one person. There's one person or one issue in the organization. Maybe it's a software. I mean, you go to some banks and they have a lot of trained people. They have, nice buildings, but the systems are not supporting the customer delivery. All the complaints that the customers are getting is from the system. And the CEO, the manager, is busy writing discipline and bringing people to disciplinary committee. Why did you delay this customer? Because the customer says, I spent 4 hours in the bank just to cash a check. And then the queries are sent. They send to HR. They bring them to discipline. They can spend hours on disciplinary processes. When that is not the root cause, the root cause is the systems are slow, the systems don't work, but you're not focusing on those systems. And if you don't focus on those systems, you'll not be able to solve the problem. You can query all the people in the bank. You can put all of them through discipline. You can do a lot of training for them. But since that is not the root cause, the problem will persist. So to solve the problem, look for the 20% of the problem, of the root causes of the problem that is giving you the challenge. Then there's learning and development, and all we do here is to help you to develop yourself. And the 2080 rule will say that you need to prioritize the most important topics and themes and the skills that will maximize your learning output. So it's not a matter of going to sometimes you've gone to several seminars, you've read several books, all the get rich books and so forth, but you're still poor. Why is that so? You are not focusing on the important topics. Check yourself, your inner self, and your mindset. Maybe it's a mindset. Maybe it's a certain limiting belief. And that limiting belief is making nonsense of all the books you have read. So you still remain where you are. If you are able to identify that limiting belief and find the subjects or the topics that will address that limiting belief, you'll find that all of a sudden you are doing much better. So those are the 4 areas. I mean, there are several areas in the book about business application, strategy, and so on and so forth. I just put 2 here. Sales in the business application, all your sales, all your revenues, 80% of that is coming from 20% of either your products or customers. So the number of products you have, you don't have to have 1,001 products, okay? Because only 20% will give you the results. And your employees, as we said, 80% of your productivity are coming from 20% of your employees. So as a manager, you have to find out who are these 20%. There are some people in your organization, when they leave, you are in trouble. But there are some of them, when they leave, you are not in trouble. The HR calls some regret exits. Regret exits are people, when they leave, the company is pained, because sometimes they go with the whole address book. If they are managers, sales people, especially in the bank, it's a relationship business. So if they're keeping the relationship and they move with all those people. You have to focus on them and make sure you are retaining those people. And then the 80% of the staff that are giving you the 20%, find ways to encourage them, some of them to come into the 20, and many, many other applications. So to be able to apply this principle, what do you have to do? Number 1, identify the key areas. Determine the areas where you want to improve or achieve higher results. So that's the first thing. Where do you want to improve? Is it a weight loss? Is it more sales? Is it efficiency? Is it staff satisfaction? Whatever. Look for those areas first. Then take the data that relates to those areas, the courses, the 20% of the courses. Identify the 20% of the courses that will contribute to those 80%. Analyze the data. Then prioritize. Focus your effort on the vital on the vital in outsource, delegate or outsource the tasks that are not within the 20%. So you as a manager, look for the 20%, focus on that and delegate. Now, if you do this, it will help you to be more efficient, more effective, because you're spending all your time focusing on things that are not relevant. Okay? And you don't continuously evaluate regularly the results that you are getting and ensure that you are focusing on the most impactful. So those are the 5 steps to be able to apply the principle. Identify the key areas, analyze the data carefully to find the 20% of the causes for the 80% of the outcome. Then prioritize, put efforts on the vital few of the activities, the 20%, and delegate the 80% to other people to do, and continuously evaluate. When you go through these steps, you will be in a position to apply this principle. So to come to the end, I'm just going to give you a long quote which kind of summarizes the principle as explained in the book by Richard Koch. So this is a quote from the book. He says, the golden rules for career success are: 1, specialize in a very small niche. Develop a core skill. So that's the first thing. Focus on a niche if you want to be successful. Number 2, choose a niche that you enjoy, where you can excel and stand a chance of becoming an acknowledged leader. So you need to know yourself and find a niche that will give you the opportunity to excel. Don't spend your time on too many things. Number 3, realize that knowledge is power. Understanding the areas is very important. So focus on the data, the information. Number 4, identify your market and your core customers and serve them best. So that's why in banks they will have the premier banking and so forth. These are the people that give you a lot. So if you mess them up, they close their account. Serve the best, the priority customers best. Number 5, identify where 20% of effort gives you the 80% of returns. We've talked about that. 6, learn from the best. Don't just waste your time on anybody. This is the area you want to go. Look for the best in the industry. Look for the best coaches. Look for the best mentors and learn from them. Number 7, become self-employed early in your career. Ladies and gentlemen, look for something to do early. Don't wait till you are 60 and say, when I'm 60 now, I'm going to look for some business to do. No. And when you are doing your business, employ as many people who are net value creators. There are so many people that we employ them who are not creating any value. We have to let them go. Maybe they'll create value in some areas, but not in your business. Have the courage to let them go. Number 10, use outside contractors for everything but your core skills. Outsource and focus on your core skill. And if it is business, exploit capital leverage. Capital leverage is when you use the resources of other people, you borrow. Sometimes it is better to borrow. It's cheaper to borrow than to use your own resources. So in a nutshell, this is what the 80-20 principle, or the Pareto principle, because it was created first by Pareto. It was discovered first by Pareto. That's why it's called the Pareto principle. It's an Italian researcher who found that 5% of all Italian owns 90% of all the property, the assets, the land, and the riches. And that's the truth of life. You can say it's not fair. Well, life is never fair. So understand that life is never straight line. It is not equitable. It is not, we all don't have fingers. The fingers are not all the same height. Some people would always get better results than others. Some activities will give you more results than others. Your job is to focus on that and get those ones. Enjoy. That is my presentation for today, and I'm open to any questions that may come. All right. Good. Thank you very much.
Whoa. Thank you so much, Mr. Ayim. A lot of writing going on here. Yeah, the internet is a bit shaky, but we will manage it.
Yes.
We'll manage it. Okay. So I think we'll take a quick commercial break. And while we do that, please, Mr. Yim is here. He shared with us a very powerful principle. I will call it a superpower. If you can master the superpower, I think that your success would be unprecedented. So we'll take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll take a few questions and then we'll wrap up for the day.
For over a decade, CTL Africa Leadership has been more than a service provider. We are your dedicated partner in leadership growth, specializing in leadership development, corporate governance, strategy, culture, change management, and customer service. We focus on relational skills and personal growth essentials for effective and sustainable leadership. Our approach blends masterclasses, mastermind groups, gamified learning, and executive coaching to create impactful and engaging programs. Introducing our 2025 Corporate Development Catalog. For all heads of organizations and HR leaders, call us now to request your copy today and take your organization to the next level in 2025.
Okay, so welcome back. Welcome back, everyone. Today we have a lot of people joining us. Thank you all so much for connecting. What else will we be doing at this time of the day but connecting with all of you? And I can see the comments coming through. Reverend Ayiku from Dar es Salaam says, thank you very much for such a wonderful presentation. Humbly, may I know whether there are some advantages to applying the principle, disadvantages, sorry. Okay, we'll pick a few questions the same. So just to acknowledge those joining us, Christiana Agueno says, thank you very much. Charles Odoy, thank you for joining us. He says, thank you very much. I listen to you all the way from Bissau. Good. Merci beaucoup, mon ami. And then Onyamitiasi Jacob as well says, thank you so much. God bless you. Malcolm Mensa is also grateful for the presentation, says, God bless you. And finally, we have a commendation from Franklin, who says, great presentation by all standards. I mean, it's Mr. we're talking about, so always by all standards. He keeps improving. Yesterday I was on a call when he was leading a particular session, and I was like, oh, our man is on fire. You can see the standards and everything have gone to a whole new level. And that's what happens when you keep doing one thing continuously. Yes, so thank you all so much. Melanie, Charles, William, all of you, thank you all so much. Mr. Ayim, so I have a few questions for you, and maybe just to also
madam.
Just to also capture a few of the points that you shared. You said pay attention to the 20%. Pay attention to the 20%. And then we don't lead everyone equally. Today, this book has put that quote in perspective, which is very important. And if you don't hear anything from this session today, the key word here for me was vital few. Vital few. These words, I think, is very key throughout the presentation. And then he also mentioned that life is not linear because not all factors are contributing equally. This is very powerful. And if you can really think about it, you realize that everything around you bears this principle in its essence. And also, some of the few things that we can do is to analyze our outcomes, the data, and then the input as well. And then focus on high impact goals. Those were some of the things that I captured. And in summary, you gave us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You gave us 5 steps or 5 things we can do to improve. 1, to identify the key area. 2, to analyze the data. 3, to prioritize. And then delegate the 80% if we can, and then evaluate our outcomes. So that's a simple step-by-step process that we can follow. Mr. Ayim, you mentioned the word outcomes several times, and and today it's kind of making sense for me because when we spend the 80% of our time, we get so busy. Just to chip in this, there was a poll on BCA Online last week about what is the biggest challenge for leaders, and a few options. There was time management, there was delegation, there was motivating teams, and innovation. And what is topping the list, these are high level leaders, is time management. I was actually surprised by that. And you realize that we are running into so many things, from one thing to another, one board meeting to another one. We are so busy all the time. We wish we had 32 hours in a day. And even when God gives us 32 hours, we'll still ask for more, So I want you to maybe clarify a bit more on outputs and then outcomes, because I think that from what you're saying, the 20% is going to give us outcomes, and it looks like the 80%, if we still focus on all of that all day, we're still getting something, but it's not necessarily an outcome. Maybe if you can just touch on that.
Yeah. You see, the output is the effort you're making. Okay. So if you want to work and you read all your emails, you clean your desk, you write some letters, but you have a project. So all that is outcome. But at the end of the day, all that are output. Okay, all the effort you are making is the output. So the effort, the running, the shouting, the cleaning, the writing, the phone calls, all that are output. So when you have done all the phone calls, what do you get? How many customers do you win at the end of the day? So you spend the whole day writing all the letters, doing all the phones, reading all the emails. The day passed, 2 days, and no customer. The customer is the outcome. Now, some people, they say, oh, I've been exercising. I'm exercising every day. I'm going. I walk every day. I'm not even eating much. I eat only once. And then, so all the things around, I eat. So all that is your output. You're walking, the gym, that is output. But when you have done all that, how does it reflect on your body? And you say, I've done all this, but I've increased the kilos. That kilo is the outcome. Okay, so if you do everything, which is your output, you do all the exercises and all that, that's your output. You kill yourself heavy. Research shows that, in fact, to reduce your weight, 20% of the activities that you do is actually what is going to help you lose 80% of the weight. A lot of the 80% of the things you're doing It's not
just
helping
sweating.
you lose any weight. It's just to keep your mind that, oh yes, I sweated and I have done some exercise. So people are going and running with friends, but it's not helping. Look for the 20% that would actually help you reduce your weight. If you don't understand your body well, you'll be doing so many things, and probably it's just that one kenke every day that you eat that is giving you all the weight. That one kenke, you say I eat only once. Okay, I don't eat 3 times, I eat only once, but that once is one kenke, and it is that one kenke that gives you the 80% of the weight. So if you don't find that one kenke and deal with that one kenke that gives you 80% of your weight, you can run all you can treadmill all you can do whatever you can. You come and eat that one kenke, it will increase your weight. So the outcome is the result that you are looking for. It's the result that you're looking for. So you are at school, you are looking for students.
Yeah.
So you do a lot of adverts and you write letters. You send people to all secondary schools. All that is your output. At the end of the day, how many students come into your school? That is your outcome. So the outcome is the result you want. Is it profit you want? Is it income you want? Is it the weight you want to lose? That is the outcome. The activities that you are doing around it are all just your output, which you have to analyze carefully and find which one gives you the best outcome. I hope that helps. Now,
that helps, yeah.
The Reverend Ayuku was asking about advantages.
Disadvantages.
The advantages are some of the things that we have talked. Did he ask for disadvantages or advantages?
Yeah, disadvantages.
Okay. Oh, he's asking for disadvantages. Okay. Now, you see, to every rule, yes, there is a downside. So, if you're a manager and you find that 20% of your people are giving you 80% of the results, the rule will say that focus on the 20% and make sure that you're taking good care of them. The downside is that the 80% are going to be getting angry. They're going to be a lot of murmuring in the organization, because you see, we have a feeling that we have to give everybody equally, treat everybody equally. So you're doing a bonus. You share the bonus to everybody. Now, when you share to everybody, the 80% are happy because they know they didn't do anything. The 20% who produce all the 80% of the results, they are not happy. So what happens is that if you focus on the 20% and give them the bonus, the 80% are going to be angry and they are going to cause you other problems. So there's a downside because you have not focused on that. Now, some of the 80% you're not focusing on, over time can come and create bigger problems for you. So we are not saying forget the 80%. We are just saying that do not spend too much time. Don't ignore them, but give more attention to the 20 that is giving you the result. So, Reverend Ayuku, you are a pastor, and I know some of you have a congregation of so many people that you're looking for. Now, I know these days the churches, money is more important to the churches, which is strangely is the case. So that's how they would say, talk about the seed, come and sow the seed. How many of the people are sowing the seeds, the bigger seeds? By the time you analyze your congregation, only 20% of them are giving you 80% of all the big seeds. So what do? Those people, you are very careful with them. In fact, in some congregation, they give them front seats. They give special seats. Their seat is cushioned. The rest of them, they sit on the benches. Okay? Now, this is even happening in the church. But before you say that, well, then this is not Christian. Didn't Jesus say that there is a narrow path and then there is a broad path?
Yeah.
The broad are going to hell, if you want, and those are on the narrow path are those who are going to. It's a principle. So it's not everybody who is coming into the church that is going to heaven. Okay? Why? Because For all you know, there are only 20% who are listening to your sermons. Some of them just come to sleep. So if you want everybody to be listening, everybody to come to work, to church early, and you begin to focus, and you can come. I've seen some pastors who are blasting the whole church, and those that now come early decide that, but me, I come early, but every time the pastor is blasting all of us, now I'll start to join the other people. So you need to balance this principle in its application.
Yeah. Very, very true. And for me, I think that the summary of this principle is about prioritization.
Absolutely.
I mean, we need to learn to prioritize. I remember when I was a leader in high school, my job was to ensure that people were not breaking the rules. Protocol prefect, you have to make sure they are wearing their prescribed attire. And you realize that it was just a few people who were the extreme stubborn ones. And their impact is like, you feel like the whole school is disorganized, but it's just a few people.
Yes.
And the moment you can pin those few people, and put them in line, it looks like everything, starts to get in place. So this principle is very important. My other question, I think we also have another question in the chat. Maybe let's take that one before I come in. So William Dafoe is asking, what can one identify, or how can one identify the few vital efforts that generate the most significant results? So practically, how will I know what the vital few are?
Okay. So list all the activities. List all your staff. If it is the team that you are talking about, list all of them. And for each of them, see what is their contribution. If it is a church, these days there's a data. List all the members and look at how many of them are giving you the 100,000. In fact, some of the churches now is dollars, $100,000, and those who are coming with CDs and those who are coming with Naira. Those so make a list of all the important outcomes that you want and all the factors that give you the outcome. That's how you do it. That's the 5-step that I give you. If you do that analysis, you list all the core results that you want, and you list all the core activities. Then you begin to look at them. How much does this give me? How much? Now look at a company like Apple. They have several Apple products, but the Apple phone, the iPhone alone, produce 80% of the profits of Apple. The phone, the iPhone that all of you are fighting for. Because so many people are buying the iPhone. And then there is what? iCloud, there is iPad, there is something, there is
everything.
They have several items, but it's only the iPhone produce 80% of their profit. So just do the analysis. Once you do the analysis, you will be able to see where the critical few is, and then you focus on them.
Mr. Ayim, I think in addition to that, this is where our data is very important, because if you are a salesperson, if you are a business person, and you are using so many channels to try and reach people, have we tried this? Have we done this? But you cannot measure what your outcomes are per channel, then you cannot prioritize to say, okay, then let's put the few dollars or CDs that we have into this channel. We are not measuring anything.
Absolutely.
Yes. So for example, if you go on social media, and as a social media manager, I check the analytics, you realize that maybe 80% of your demographic are between 20 years and 34. Yet you are selling a product that is for the elderly, and you are spending all your money on social media ads. Then you'll be blaming your social manager that we are not doing well. So those are some of
Yes.
the key things that we can do as leaders to make sure that as we list the
Yes.
key areas, the key things we do, we also start tracking the data so that you can clearly know that,
Yes.
okay, this is clearly not giving me anything. This thing is clearly not giving me anything. This one seems to be giving me more. Then you can prioritize that
Yes.
and focus your efforts on that. I think that's where the data
Yes.
comes in, because we walk in blindly into a lot of decisions, strategic decisions. Mistake. You gave a few points around the business part, but it's not surprising to know that even when it comes to salaries, that even globally, 20% of employees are receiving 80% of the total payroll, which speaks to the fact that
Absolutely.
yes, when it comes
Absolutely.
to performance, when they are sharing bonuses, same applies. You mentioned the customer and
Same
the
applies.
same applies. And you also mentioned the skill. So 20% of your skill is also driving 80% of your value in your organization. Sometimes we are
Absolutely.
we are
So
scrambling
no,
around. Yeah,
you absolutely. Sometimes you want to, and let me share this one. Sometimes
yeah,
you say you have a certain weakness, and then you are spending all your time to build on your weakness.
yeah.
But that area, let's give an example. You're not a good communicator, and everybody says you have to learn to communicate well. But you're a very good implementer. When they give you everything, you execute it very well. You can research very well. But because your feedback is that your communication skills are weak, you decided that you're going to spend more time developing your communication skills.
Mhm.
You will spend a lot of hours on your communication skills, but they will just give you a performance just a little up.
Improvements, yeah.
But so if you spend 10 hours developing your communication skill, it will move your performance by 1%. But those 10 hours, if you spend 5 hours on developing your implementation skills, they will raise your performance by 20%. So if you know that, yeah, communication is important, but that's not my strength. So I'm not going to
Yeah.
kill myself working on my communication too much. Yes, I'll learn how to speak a bit, but I'm not going to stand on the stage. My
Yeah.
job is to implement. So know
Yeah.
that the 20% of your skills that give you the best results,
Mhm.
focus on that one.
That's right.
And then you'll be a high flyer because that's where you excel.
Yeah.
But if you're well known and then you are writing, your writing is not good. Always there's mistake. But you say you'll be in charge of the company journal, and every time there's problem, you are in trouble. So know
Yes.
your critical skill, focus
Mhm.
on that skill, and then get the results.
Absolutely. This has been very helpful, very, very helpful. I mean, to deal with time management, like you said, and all the others. I want to acknowledge Mrs. Stella Ado, who is joining us from Ghana, Fortune Doris Arthur, Edwina Martison. All say good evening. Awofia Joe, as always, it's good to have you. Philip Quay, Sapa from Village of Hope, it's good to see you. And then I think there's one more comment from Melanie. Melanie says the summary of 80-20 analysis versus thinking. The whole objective is to help change behaviors. And then Akosia
Absolutely.
Trinibua says, I'm beginning to see how the top brands make use of this principle. The principle boosts
Mhm,
productivity and efficiency. Thanks for this
mhm.
presentation, Mr. Yim. And let's see if we've answered. Yes, we've answered William's question. I'm just scanning through to see. Yeah, I think so far that's what we've covered, and people are thankful for the concepts and then the insight. Yeah, so I
Great.
think that's all I have in terms of my questions. Anything that you would want to share, maybe to wrap it up, and then we can call it an evening.
All right. So all I want to say at the end is that to be able to improve our life, to be able to achieve our goals, we need to understand the factors that affect our sources. And there may be 1,001 factors that are affecting your sources, but only a few of them are critical for you to be successful. So analyze those factors carefully and focus on the few that are critical for your sources. In your relationships, issues that are always causing you much more problems, look for those few issues and deal with them. And for your happiness, you will not be happy 24/7. There are only a few activities in your life that give you the joy and the happiness. Look for those few activities and do more of that. So if it's singing, if it is eating fufu, that gives you the joy, eat more of fufu. And don't rather in other activities that actually would take joy out of your life. Every aspect of your life, there are some critical elements that will give you the best results. This principle is simply saying, look for those few, focus on them, and you would be more effective, you'll be more efficient, you'll be happier, you'll be more successful just by identifying the 20% of the causes that give you the 80% of the results. Focus on the 20%, but don't ignore the 80%. And that will be my conclusion. And God bless all of you, and hope that we'll be able to be more effective. Thank you, Joy.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ayim. God richly bless you for the time and the effort you put into preparing this beautiful, dinner for us for the evening. And I know that most of you joining us, where would you have heard this week? We need to focus on improving day in, day out. All right, as we wrap up, just a few reminders. CTL Africa Leadership, if you want to connect with us for any of your leadership training, coaching services, team building, development, please, you can reach us on 055-666-7718. And then you can also visit our website, www.ctlafricaleadership.com, and then send us a message, give us a call on WhatsApp. The team will also get back to you. Next week, we're entering a new season. So season 2 is going to focus on leading others. And we have a few speakers that are going to be coming up with us. We would love to hear your feedback so far, what you've learned in this first season. But the book for next month, which will be reviewed by one of our very own partners, Tika Cameron. This book is titled, so you can find it before we get into the month of April, Treating People Well, How to Master Social Skills and Thrive in Everything That You Do. Treating People Well, How to Master Social Skills to Thrive in Everything That You Do. And the authors are Leah Berman and Jeremy Bernard. You hear a bit of it on our social media during the week, but just keep this book in mind. We're going to be reading that for the month of April. And at the end, Tika Cameron will come and then help us to debrief on it. Okay. All right. So I think that's all by way of announcement. I thank you for spending your time with us for another episode of the Leadership Platform. We truly honor your time and honor your presence with us. And we hope to see you again next week, Saturday, same time, Saturday, 7 p.m. on Facebook, YouTube, or LinkedIn. My name is Joy Bonsu-Schmutz. It's been my pleasure being with you, and we wish you a good night. Take care.
Is your team ready to soar to new heights?
CTL Africa Leadership, we specialize in transforming potential into performance. Whether it's mastering winning with people, enhancing emotional intelligence, decoding human behavior, or strengthening team leadership, we've got you covered. Dive into personal leadership and elevate your corporate governance standards. Our tailor-made programs are designed to unlock your team's full potential. Don't settle for ordinary. Be extraordinary. Book a discovery call with CTL Africa today, and let's design a development program that transforms your team. Visit our website www.ctlafricaleadership.com.